Staring at a small statue of a little mermaid is not one of the top things to do in Copenhagen. The Danish capital is one of the best cities in the world and there's so much more to see and do. In this video, I'll share a mix of attractions in Copenhagen that are actually worth visiting and some of the more unknown hidden gems that the Danish capital has to offer. My name is Chris and I'm a Danish travel blogger who lives here in Copenhagen, so I really should know this stuff. Let's get right into the video with a hidden gem that got 500,000 views in 2 days when I shared it over on my Instagram. Mærsk is part of Copenhagen University, but it's open to the public and of course completely free to enter. You just head in and take the lift up to the 15th floor. I've been to some impressive viewpoints here in Copenhagen and I'll include a few more in this video, but I do think that this one is the best, to be honest. The building is in the area of Nørrebro, so from here you've got a fantastic view over the lakes and the city center of Copenhagen. Just keep in mind that it is a place where people come to study, so be respectful when you visit Mærsk. It's open every day from 8 to 5 in the afternoon. If you look up photos of Copenhagen, there's a good chance you'll see a photo of Nyhavn. So of course we need to feature this little part of town in the video. Nyhavn was dug out by Swedish prisoners in 1671 and the oldest house here is from 1681. So there's a lot of history around here, and actually the famous Danish poet Hans Christian Andersen lived in 3 different houses here. The key to getting that good photo of Nyhavn is to come over here on the other side, because over there it's always super crowded and you can't even see the houses. So make sure you walk over on the other side as well, and watch out for the bikes because they don't give a F about you. If you follow me over on Instagram, you've probably seen some of my reels where I always say that you shouldn't be eating over in Nyhavn. What you should do instead is walk across the bridge. It's like a 2-minute walk, and then you'll come to this really nice food market called Broens Gadekøkken, or the Bridges Street Kitchen. And you've got basically some of the best, for example, you got Gasoline Grill, which is probably world famous now because I think the New York Times said it was one of the best burgers in the world, basically. So you can have that right there with no queue if you come on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock at least. So instead of eating over in Nyhavn, where you only got like overpriced bad Danish food, head over here. It's a nice little place to walk around and get some food. Also, if you need the toilet and you're in the area, there are 3 public toilets right over here by the street kitchen. This little park right next to the Opera House used to be my own little hidden gem. It was only like a field of grass. Nobody was ever here, but now they've built a whole little park with a restaurant and a super nice view that I used to be able to enjoy all by myself, but not anymore, and that's alright. I like it when the city gets renewed. It keeps it fresh, and of course, why wouldn't there be a nice park here? Because with this view, it'd be stupid not to build something. So come here, enjoy the nice view and a bit of calmness right in the city center of Copenhagen. As the name suggests, the Meatpacking district is where all the butchers used to be, and it used to be a super industrial area and with absolutely nothing to do for the common folk. But nowadays it's jam-packed with bars, restaurants, bakeries, and of course loads of craft beer places, where the most famous one is probably Warpigs, which is one of those places that I think if you're American in Copenhagen, apparently you need to go to Warpigs, because every time I'm in there, it's mainly American tourists. But yeah, just come here, you can literally just walk around and find a nice little cafe or bar, get a coffee, get a beer, or get some baked goods perhaps. When you're coming to Copenhagen, you simply need to head to one of our many fancy bakeries and stuff your face with baked goods. For this video, I wanted to try one of the more popular places, so I headed to Hart Bakery in the Meatpacking district, where I got this cardamom croissant that I can wholeheartedly recommend. That was actually my first time at Hart Bakery, and I kind of wanted it to be super good so I could use it in this video, but oh my freaking god, that was really good. Definitely get the napkins because it's a greasy boy, but definitely worth it. So Hart Bakery, nice one. Kastellet, or the Citadel, has been around for I think around 400 years, and it used to be one of the main fortresses here in Copenhagen, and it's actually still being used by the military. So when you come here, don't think it's all just an act and a show for the tourists, because they still work here. So don't ignore the signs and don't wander off where you're not supposed to be, but definitely come here. It's totally open. I'm just walking around on this hill, and yeah, you're free to do that, of course. So come here, enjoy the nice views, and you are also very close to some of the other main things to see here in Copenhagen. So you will be in the area, so just pop in, it's nice. Wow, I wonder what that is. That is of course St. Alban's Church, also known as the English Church. And can I just say how nice it actually is to make this video. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, and now I'm finally going out here in my own city, experience it like you guys would. It's just nice to do every once in a while, so thanks a lot for making me do this, I guess. Frederiksberg Have, or Frederiksberg Gardens, is in my opinion one of the most beautiful parks we've got here in Copenhagen. It's such an institution, and it's just a nice place to come and go for a little walk here in the city, or you could bring some food or a drink and just chill here in front of the palace. The park is also right next to the Copenhagen Zoo, which is a nice place to go if you're traveling here with the children. But let me just share a little secret with you if you don't want to spend a lot of money to go to the zoo. Let's head over here. Okay, so the next thing here is not a hidden gem or a big tourist attraction, but seeing as you are coming to Copenhagen as a tourist, I want to say that you should really do use the public transport, or more specifically the metro, because the buses here aren't that reliable. At least you can't really look at a timetable and use the buses or think that they will come in time. But the metro is really good, and it's super easy to use. And it's also the best way to get from Copenhagen Airport to the city center, so make sure you check out my other video about just that. If you're coming to Copenhagen in the summertime, I'd highly recommend doing as the locals and head down to the waterfront. This truly is where the city comes to life, and just chilling by the water and watching all the boats sail by is actually one of my favorite things to do in Copenhagen. But if you're up for a proper hidden gem, head out to Badezone Byskoven. The nearest metro station is around 3.5 kilometers from this remote swim spot, but I think it's an awesome place to visit in the summertime, so it's definitely worth it. One of the best things to do in Copenhagen is to go on a canal cruise around the harbour. Every guidebook to Copenhagen mentions it, and to be fair, it's awesome. You can get these super cheap boats that depart from Nyhavn, where the price is only 60 kroner for a 1-hour sightseeing cruise. These boats sail over to the Little Mermaid, so you can get your disappointment out of the way before you enjoy the Christianshavn Canal and the inner harbour area. Amalienborg is the Danish royal palace, and it's the main home of the Danish royal family. We've recently had a new king, Frederik, and his queen is actually from Australia, so there's a bit of trivia there for you Aussies. Amalienborg is right between the Citadel and Nyhavn, so there's a good chance you're going to be around this spot if it's your first trip to Copenhagen. There's a change of guards every day just before 12 o'clock, so if you plan on visiting Amalienborg, you might as well aim for that. The Marble Church is located right next to Amalienborg, so it would be rude not to head in and check out what is, in my opinion, the most beautiful church in Copenhagen and maybe in all of Denmark. It's free to enter and there's no booking or anything, you just rock up and walk into the stunning church. Since the 1600s, this little area called Nyboder has been a place that has housed people who were from the, I think it started with only being people from the Navy, but nowadays it's generally speaking people from the Danish military. Just keep in mind that even though some of these houses are over 400 years old, or I'm not sure if the houses are, but there's been like barracks here for 400 years, actual people are still living in these houses. So I actually have some friends who used to live here because they worked in the military, and they were really annoyed with tourists who actually were facing into their apartments in the summer when the windows were open and then were taking pictures into the apartments. So maybe don't do that, but just be respectful and come here and enjoy it. Take some photos of the buildings, that's alright, but don't be too nosy. In the beating heart of Copenhagen, on one of the pedestrianized shopping streets, you'll find the Round Tower. This is one of those famous attractions in Copenhagen that is actually worth doing. The price to enter is just 40 kroner and 10 for kids, which is probably cheaper than a coffee in Copenhagen these days. You can't pre-book tickets, so you just turn up and get the ticket before walking up the tower. The view from up here is brilliant, but it does get quite crowded, so it's probably not a place where you are for that long. If you want to experience a bit more than just Copenhagen itself, head over to Copenhagen Central Station and get on the train up north to the city of Elsinore. The journey only takes about an hour and costs only 60 kroner. Elsinore is home to one of the most famous landmarks in Denmark, Kronborg Castle. The castle is also known as Hamlet's Castle because Shakespeare used it as the location for his famous play. Elsinore is an awesome Danish little town, so do consider making the journey up here if you have more than 3 or 4 days in Copenhagen. I've also got another video on my channel about Elsinore if you want to see more. But let's head down to Copenhagen for the last couple of things to do. One of the best things to do in Copenhagen is, in my opinion, to take full advantage of the city. Leave the city center for a bit and head out to some of the boroughs where us locals actually hang out. Nørrebro is one of my favorite areas, and here you'll find a youthful, slightly hipster kind of vibe. There are so many trendy coffee shops, restaurants and vintage shops, so make sure you head over to streets like Ravnsborggade, Jægersborggade and Elmegade. When you come here to Nørrebro, I'd highly recommend coming here to Assistens Kirkegård, which is one of the most famous cemeteries here in the city. And you can actually see our most famous poet, Hans Christian Andersen's grave over here. Sorry. Strøget here is actually one of the longest pedestrianized streets here in Europe, or maybe even in the world. It's a place that us Danes don't really go to, but I guess as a tourist you will come here and you'll probably do the walk from the town hall square and down to Nyhavn. And I guess it's one of those must-do things. But what I want to say is that don't just walk on the main street, go down the side streets where you will probably find some like proper Danish restaurants or some actual good cafes or bakeries. So it's not all bad here in the city center, but right here on Strøget, it is pretty bad. Look at this, I'm literally 150 meters from Strøget in I think this is one of the oldest streets in Copenhagen. Nobody here, so get off the beaten path and head down here. Check out the description below for more things to do in Copenhagen and leave a comment, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more travel content.